A very good afternoon, my seniors and my colleagues. I'm going to present on leave science and research to the institutions. I do not have any financial interest. This is a topic I like most. Why? Because I have been associated with many institutions. So I have done my MBBS from Medical College. I have done my DO and MS from the same institute, and I am rightly associated with IIT Indore and Hyderabad, as well as I am also working with IIT Mumbai. So what is science? This facts proven by evidence and corollaries that come through that process is science, basically. And what is research? It is a method for proving a phenomena that is almost repeated multiple times, almost, every term is important, almost repeated multiple times with or without alteration of one or multiple factors. That is research. So science and research are basically two sides of the same coin. One proves the another. Why it is important? Because this research actually involves many things, like phenomenon. What is the thing that we are researching? Second, we have to design an experiment. Third, we need to observe. Fourth, we need to analyze. Third, we need to infer. And lastly, a team is needed, not a person, to do above works. So research is just not simply a research. These all things and all bits and bits have to come under this research. So coming straight to the point, why institution is perfectly suited for research and why not individual? I'm not coming to the point science. Look, science can come to individual and institution. Now the practice of science, what is better, collective or individual? Yes, definitely collective, not individual. Why institution is better for research? Because research institution, the basic definition comes under the NEP, National Education Policy, and Education Ministry wants that particular thing in their policies. Think of an interdisciplinary research. Is it possible for a single person to do an interdisciplinary research? Dedicated and accredited laboratory. Most of the granting funds want a dedicated and accredited laboratory. And you need to have a student and teacher ecosystem to have a very good research scenario. Funding clarity has to be there. Look, research is just not a research. It is a lifelong procedure. A research, simply making a drug molecule takes at least 3 to 4 years, probably a minimum. It's 10 years, in fact. So a huge funding has to be sustained throughout that. A single person cannot sustain that unless and until he is your mask or something like that. So the funding clarity has to be there for the funding institutes, the granting institutes. So no individual funding is usually allowed. Institution-based fundings are usually allowed. And multiple checks are allowed. When multiple checks is required, the last point, the original article. So whenever there is an individual claiming to have a research done, the original goes away from the reviewer's point of view. And what we honor, the peer-reviewed published article. Peer is very important. So we don't trust each other, we trust the peers, right? And for individual, what can be done from the individual's point of view? It's a research work, so he's independent, he can do better. Private funding is more, especially in the Western countries, and the most third world countries, third world nations are the emerging ground for the research. So the grant comes from the first world countries to the third world countries. Now, somebody can tell that Elon Musk has an institution, he is going to start an individual research. But again, peer-reviewed published articles show us that most of the private funding goes to the government institutions, again, institutions. Individual, the moot question is that individual, is it larger than the institution, or collective is larger than the individual? So whenever you are talking with the research, is individual big or the institution is big? I will come to the same in the last slide. So historical purview, if we continue with the historical purview of research in institutions, in the national field, it started before independence too. Indian Institute of Technology started in 1951, Indian Institute of Management started in 1952, Center of Excellence, the idea of Center of Excellence in research came in 1955, National Institute of Technology came in 1960s. So the common thread to all these things is that there was always a boost for the institutions for the research. So Institute of National Importance, All India Institute of Medical Science, Indian Institute of Science, all these are specifically mentioned in all the policies as a research institution. And why in the international field, it's MIT, Harvard, you can think of Oxford, many institutions. So why is that important? Why is institution and the research is very important? Look at the results. So the faculty research impact for MIT, these are the research I could find out. So for a single year, they have publications cited in top 25% journals in 77%. Publications cited in top 5% journals in 35%. So what we are looking at, what is the outcome? Outcome is the peer-reviewed published article. And look at that, publications cited in the top 25% of journal is 77%. Can any individual claim that their publications are in the citing of the top 25% of the journals? Very few. So institute and research and funding, coming to the basic funding part again. So what institutions in India we are having for this funding? Institutions, public and private. If you go to the public, then DST, DBT, SARB, National Research for NRF is coming out, startup funding, Bionest project, 0.7% of the GDP is going to the research funding. So where is it going? It is going to the institution, not directly to the individuals. So this is again the peer-reviewed publications for IIT Mumbai. Again, the last one, the collaboration and the credibility. Collaboration goes up whenever you are working in an institution. Take up a single grant for Royal Society of Physicians. They have a grant of 65,000 sterling pound. And they require at least 3 institutions. Two of them has to be international, one from the UK and one from the national. So again, a research is accepted globally when that is done in a collaboration, again in an institutional setup. Individual research are accepted in startups, but they lack in credibility. So they have to attach themselves with an institutions. And access to machinery for the research. And lastly, the privatization of the knowledge. So is privatization of the knowledge, because whenever we talk of individuals in research and so huge a funding, so are we thinking that a person is actually funding a research for his or her own purpose, not for the purpose of the society? So it is a big dilemma and debate, and they have books for that. So coming to the midpoint of the balance. So what is an institution? An institution is started by an individual. So an individual itself is an institution. So J.L. Nehru started the IIT IIM, and Homi Bhabha was trained in the IISc and Cambridge. He started TIFR. So an individual comes out of an institution. Institution gives birth to another individual, enlightened individual, who again goes back to start another institution. So it's the same part of the cycle. So wherever we put, the basic idea is that it has to be a peer-reviewed publication. Thank you.